In this video, we're going to learn how to tie a reverse tension chest harness. This can be thought of as a lark's head single column on top of the chest tissue, a small stem connecting to another lark's head single column beneath the chest tissue. To begin, we're going to find the bite of our rope, and we're going to place that about the middle of the back there. We want to take our running ends and go over the chest tissue, behind the back on the other side, and then through our bite there. Here I want to make sure I have no twists in my lines coming there, and then I want to kind of pull on that to set the tension. Now, if this is a little off-centered, one thing you can do is grab onto that, pull away from the body while also pulling away from the rope on the front, and from there you can kind of adjust it as you need such that it's about in the middle of the back there. Now I'm gonna look at the front and make sure there's no twists coming over here, and make sure it's not pinching any of the sensitive skin around the armpit.
And bottoms, this is a good chance to practice your body awareness. And so what I want you to do is to see how this first wrap feels on your body. Is it too tight, too loose? Because this is the point where the top is going to reverse the rope, which will set the tension how it is now. So you want to check in, see how it feels, and communicate if you need any adjustments to your top. And I do think you could do this a little tighter on me.
A little tighter, great, sounds good. So per Jen's request, I'm going to take that and reverse that tension just a little bit tighter. Does that feel better?
Yes.
Perfect, so I'm gonna grab this. Notice it's not in the middle of my back anymore, so I'm gonna grab this so I maintain that tension, pull in the front, and just kind of move that to the middle of the back. It can be good to sometimes put like your knee or your hip against your bottom, because if you're pulling on them, they might get pulled into you, and you want to kind of reverse, push against them almost a little bit to keep them stationary. So now that I've reversed my tension here, I want to make another wrap immediately underneath my very top wrap, still on top of the chest tissue, and making sure I have similar tension there. When I reverse my tension, I made a little hole here, and what we want to do is take our rope and go down through that hole. So I'm a finger hook in the opposite direction, pull that rope through that hole there. And now that I've pulled it through, I want to lock this off. And I want to lock this off because I want to maintain my tension that I have right now. I don't want it getting any looser, and I certainly don't want it getting any tighter. So to lock this off, I'm going to reverse my tension. So now I'm going back this direction, and I want to tie a half hitch on this side. To tie a half hitch, we make our 4 and bring the rope through the hole in our 4 there. Once I pull that through, I just tighten it there, and making sure it's nice and tight there. The tension still feels good. I don't have any twists in my wraps. If I were to take a look in the front of my wraps here and find out that I had a twist, what I want to do is dress the wraps. To dress the wraps, what you do is you just take your finger, put it underneath these wraps. I usually recommend kind of counterbalancing, pushing away and pulling that from front to back, again, being careful of that sensitive armpit tissue. This can be a good way of moving the wraps. For instance, if I wanted these wraps, if I checked in, hey Jen, are these wraps too low, and I wanted to raise them?
For example, let's say yes.
Let's say yes. Then I could put my finger under there, counterbalance a little bit, pull away and lift up as I move them around. I'm just gonna reset them back to where they were.
That's a little too low.
A little too low, okay, perfect. Perfect, so now I will actually dress those a little higher again, front to back is generally the idea. Is that better?
Yes.
Perfect. So what we have completed here is really just a single column tie around the chest, a single column. This is a lark's head reverse tension single column. So now what we're gonna do is build a small stem that is just a length of rope coming down here to build our second wraps. I'm gonna take these and these wraps, I'm gonna go just below the bottom of the chest tissue. You wanna check in with your bottom to see exactly where they want that. So Jen, where would you want your bottom wraps on your chest tissue?
I would definitely like this like a little higher.
Sure, absolutely. So I'm just gonna kind of dress those up just a little higher there and check in again. Is that better?
You could do a little more.
Even more, perfect. Sounds good.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. And here, I want to come under here, finger hook, and reverse my tension. My ropes are going this way. I now want them going this way. Build my second wraps here, immediately under that same set of wraps, maintaining similar tension. And just as we did before, when we reverse our tension, we made this little hole here. I'm gonna take my ropes and I'm gonna go down through them, finger hooking in the opposite direction, pull those through, reverse my tension, and now I'm gonna build a half hitch over here. On my top wraps, just like on my top wraps, I wanted my tension maintained. I also want that tension maintained on my bottom wrap. So I'm gonna put a half hitch on this side. Again, making my 4 and pulling that rope through the hole of my 4 there. Tighten that half hitch down, and I am now done with my reverse tension chest harness. If you have a good amount of rope left, like I do, there's a few things you can do with it. You could build shoulder straps if you wanted to. So you go over the shoulder. And then what you can do is just do a simple turnaround on these top wraps. Something like that. You could center that, make sure it looks good. It's not twisting or bending any of these top wraps. Bring it over the shoulder, and then because this wrap is coming from the bottom here, I would probably tie a half hitch or even just a square knot, something on this other side to make that look kind of symmetrical there. There are lots of things you could do here. If you just had a few inches of rope, you could just tie a bow, for instance. Jen, I know there's a few things you like to do with extra rope here.
Yeah, one thing that you could do if you had about maybe this much left is you could tie a half hitch around your stem. Tying behind your back is so easy. So you could I created this loop over here, pull my rope through it, and pull tight. I could just do a half hitch there. This is embarrassing. I'm gonna edit. This is embarrassing. Another thing that you could do is you could add on. Right now I've got 2 wraps, top and bottom. You could add an additional wrap with the rope, and since I like my wraps pretty high up, I would probably want to add a 3rd wrap to this top wrap here rather than the bottom, but that's just my personal preference. And then when you get to the back here, you have the same options. You could come around the stem, wrap around, and do a hitch. That's another option.
And now you know how to make a reverse tension chest harness.